Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the FanTeam Golf DFS show. Jack, how smooth was that? You can
It
tell
was.
I
It's just
wasn't here last week.
almost as smooth as my haircut, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell I was missing last week in the IT department. Nice, smooth intro there. No issues, no qualms. Like you said, nice and sharp, like your sharp haircut. Shout out to Jack's barber. It's
He's
just the
very
two
good.
of us. Yeah, he must be. Just the two of us tonight, Jack. Two ball. We've got a man down. Caddy is missing, so we're gonna have to make our own decisions tonight. So Mark it's probably the worst reason for being missing from the show. I mean, he was in Italy. You know, I can accept that. I think he's been in Italy a couple of times. I was in the Lakes last week, getting engaged. Valid reason.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Mark is AWOL this week because he's at Peppa Pig World.
Yeah, he won't be wearing his Speedos around there, will he? Otherwise he will get in trouble. So
I hope not. Let's put it that way. I hope he isn't. But I wouldn't put it past the man. So
sorry,
yeah,
Mark.
I'm no doubt he'll pay us back next week. Yeah, I was a little bit out of the golf last week, Jack, because where I was in the Lake District, it was in like a little bit of a lodge, and it was Freeview TV Monday to Friday. Yeah. So it was there was no golf for me, sadly. I entered a couple of teams in and managed to break even, but it was just in the mini contest. And the teams that I entered were basically just variations of the pod teams that you and Mark put together. So well done, sir. They were going very well up until the last day, and then Harold Varner just basically crapped the bed.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar week to you, really. I worked it out. I lost about, I think it was £22 in total I lost last week. I had Harold Varner though, and I was sitting sixth in the big main event contest. Obviously going down that back nine on last week, and then I mean I don't know how he does that. Like he was like leading at whatever score he was, at like 12 under par or whatever, and then by the end of the 18, by the end of 18, he finishes at level par. I do not know how the hell it happened. It did. It's one of those things. Slight loss on the week, but these things happen, and you know, we go again.
Yeah, we do. And watching the footage back, it gives me hope as a golfer. I watched him 4-putt, and two of them lipped out. And I'm watching the highlights back, and I'm just like, one of us. It's great. You shouldn't see that in professional golf, but it's great when you do, because these guys are just humans like us. They feel pressure just like us, even though we don't have the crowd, sadly, or the money.
He won't be standing out in that putting stat that we look at every week.
No, he will not. So yeah, moving on to this week, Jack. We've got the Memorial, which it's not a major, but when you look at the quality of the field that we've got this week, it certainly got that sort of feel to it. In terms of the lineups that we'll be able to build this week. But obviously, of course, it isn't a major. But this is a big competition this week that we've got, the Memorial. Before we actually get to the main event itself, our pod team slipped a little bit last week, I think. So we've gone down to 244. So I think it's just a slight slip. I don't think we've moved much, but I seem to recall that it was maybe around sort of 220, 230 maybe last week.
We was 209, so we have dropped down a little bit.
Right,
just before we do get to the pod team, Nick, in regards to Sundale's question there, well, not question, just response about Varner. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. He had that win earlier in the season, didn't he, out on the Saudi league?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
So it was nice to see that.
Was it Bubba Watson who ran on?
Yeah, it was Bubba Watson. They're really good friends. He ran on, give him a hug and everything. I do think Harold Varner's going to win on the PGA Tour very soon. It's hard. It's hard, right? It's hard to win on the PGA Tour. We say this every week. Will Zalatoris, another prime example. We say this every week with these guys. It is hard to win on tour, but I can sense it coming for Varner, and I think we'll get it soon. He'll learn from that. Yeah. He'll learn from that collapse.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And it's an outlier, like you said. It's just a bad back nine that he's had. Prior to that, he was absolutely stellar over the first 3 days, and half of that last round, he put himself right in contention. I actually bet him last week as well, because I thought it was a good price. I agree with you. It feels like that wins just it's like on the brink of it. And you can get really good odds on Werner pretty much every competition he's in. So, keep an eye on it. One of them is going to land soon. And if you can land him at the kind of odds that I had him last week, I think I had him at somewhere around 40 to 50s. So, you're getting a great price on him.
Oh, just before we do move on to this week and the season team, what a putt by Sam Burns to win that playoff.
Oh, clutch.
Yes, absolute monster putt to win the playoff against the number one player in the world. I mean, when Scheffler was clear at one point, I thought, Jesus, this guy's going to do it again. And with Scheffler, I've never, obviously I've seen Tiger Woods play. Tiger Woods was that dominant type of thing. He'd win sort of like 5 or 6 events a year. But Scheffler's getting into that mold now. Like, he's competing every week. Obviously, he missed the cut of the PGA, but he's competing every week. And yeah, it's scary stuff watching Scheffler. When he took the lead, like by a couple of shots, I thought that's it, it's done. But yeah. I mean, fair play to Sam Burns, absolute clutch part, like you say, to win the playoff.
And he hung in there as well, Sam Burns, because he didn't really, until players started dropping the shots, he was off the lead. But then he just hung in there, played steady golf all day, and like you said, that last putt was absolutely clutch. It never looked like it was missing. No. So yeah, fair play. This week, Jack, on the season long, obviously we've slipped a little bit, but we've got 6 playing. We've got Swafford on the bench, who I don't think will be included in this kind of lineup, given the quality that we've got in there. So we've managed to somehow wangle a lineup of Rory McIlroy, Will Zalatoris, Shane Lowry, Abraham Hanser, Max Homer, and Gary Woodland. So I think that's a pretty strong starting 6, to be fair. Swafford on the bench, I don't think we start him this week. I think we leave him exactly where he is.
Yep.
Scheffler is the only big omission for us this week. He's not playing, but he'll be playing next week.
We keep him. He's got a nice stretch of golf coming up soon.
Yeah.
And like you say, he does play next week. There's not many golfers that are confirmed for this week and next week. You've got Rory at the top there. There's one. Cameron Smith's another one. And Corey Connors are kind of the top guys that are confirmed for this week and next week. So if you was to make a transfer, I mean, you're looking at Corey Connors, Cameron Smith and Rory this week for me, because you're going to get them next week as well. Unfortunately, we're just not getting a lot of names for that Canadian Open as of yet. Did, however, today get the whole of the John Deere Classic field, which was weird. That's the second event after the US Open. As I expected, I thought it would be a poor field. It's headlined by Daniel Berger. The other standout golfer there is Webb Simpson. It's not a particularly great field. I thought it would be poor because you've got the Irish Open that week and the proposed Live Golf that's meant to be their second event that week as well. So you can have 3 golf contests going on at once that week. I thought it'd be poor. It is. And then you've got the Barbasol after that. And I do keep mentioning, if you've got your wild card left, you should be using it at the John Deere Classic because you're going to need it for the Barbasol as well, because you're just going to get the Barbasol the same week as that. You've got the Scottish Open. All the top golfers in the world are going to the Scottish Open at the minute. John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, all confirmed. Justin Thomas is another one. Will Zalatoris is confirmed for the Scottish Open. So they're not going to play the Barbasol Championship, which is a part of the season-long game. If you've not got your wild card and you've got a team like what we've got this week, where you don't need to use the transfer, roll the transfers as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree. I think we roll. I mean, we've only got 1 transfer to use, but I think we roll it over, give ourselves 2 next week. And then I suppose we build from there, because like you said, there's not many confirmed just yet for the John Deere Classic, but you've got a few that you would definitely want to target over the next few weeks, because we've got the IBC, we've got the US Open, and then the Travelers, and there's quite a few golfers that are confirmed for at least 2 out of those 3 so far. So yeah, I'd definitely be saving my transfer this week. If you've got, I would say 5 playing, definitely save it. If you didn't have 5 playing and you needed to bring someone in, then like you said, Jack, I'd probably be targeting someone like like a Cameron Smith, maybe a Rory McIlroy, maybe even Corey Connors, throw him in there as well. Matthew Fitzpatrick potentially is a little bit of an outside punt, but yeah.
Just in regards to that, Costa, guys must check Victor Perez's part in the playoff for the Dutch Open last week. I've seen it. Please don't remind me. I backed Ryan Fox to win that. He had a 2-shot lead going down 18, and he double bogeyed the par 5, Nick, to go into a playoff. And so please don't remind me of that. But yeah, I've seen the part. It was good stuff. It was a clutch part, to be fair.
Yeah, I was told about this once. I was tucking into a naan bread on Sunday evening at the local Indian by my dad. Yeah, I've not watched it yet, but I will go and check it out. I suppose the big question then, Jack, is who do we captain this week? I've put the armband provisionally on Rory, but I'm open to alternatives. But I think if you've got Rory in there, I feel like you've got to at this stage.
We've got another question there about the season on. Just getting to your captain question there, Nick. I would captain Rory this week. He's the number 1 player in my model. Spoiler. So yeah, I would captain Rory. Sundar there's got 4 transfers saved and 6 playing. Still tempted to do Burns to Cam Smith. Good move. Sundar, have you got the wild card? That's the ultimate question I would first ask you. If you haven't, I'm not making any changes. Personally, I did that earlier on in the season. I made a mistake when I didn't need to. I tried to get a guy in that I thought would win the tournament. He ended up missing the cut. So I didn't actually need to make that change. I could have just rolled with the guys and I would have had 6 for the week after. And then the week after I only had 5 because I didn't roll my transfer. I'm inclined that if you don't have that wild card to roll these transfers, because the John Deere and the Barbasol will be really poor events like field wise.
I think as well, it's a tough one that as well, because obviously we've not seen your lineup. Yep. So you've got 6 playing, but we don't know the quality of it. You've said that one's to play over Svensson, but I would still save it. And like Jack said, depending on whether you've got your wild card or not, you could be in an advantageous position there if you've got the transfers as well, because you're potentially building a lineup that will be strong for the next few weeks as well if you're using those transfers. But I suppose it depends on the strength of your 6. I'd still probably save it and roll your transfer.
I mean, if you have got it, I don't hate the Cam Smith move, because Cam Smith, if you look at the putting stats that we're quite heavily focused on now, within that 0 to 5 foot range or the 5 foot to 10 range, Cam Smith is like third in the model over the last 50 rounds. I don't hate the Cam Smith move. You will get him, as I say, next week as well. And obviously he'll play the US Open. So you're going to get a good few weeks out of him. I don't hate that move, but you also have to bear in mind that he does not have very good course history at this place. We'll get into that in a minute when we do the Memorial contest. But Cam Smith has missed multiple. I think he's played this course 6 times, Nick, and he's missed the cut 4 times. Yeah. So I have actually factored in a bit of course history this week for this place, but we'll get onto that in a minute.
Yeah, no, I had seen that as well with Cam Smith. My only thing was, despite the missed cuts, I think we're seeing a much improved Cam Smith this season. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely worth consideration there as well. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we captain Rory then, Jack, and I think we call it a day there and roll with it and see how we get on this week. Hopefully, given the team that we've got, I would hope that we'd potentially be able to claw back the gap that we lost last week and then hopefully build on it over the next couple of weeks, because we've got some good golfers guaranteed to be playing some of the next few events as well. So I feel like we can maybe gain a little bit of ground there, but a big part of that will be what Rory McIlroy does as well. If we get a good contest out of Rory as our captain, then I think it will stand us in good stead, and we'll hopefully make up a bit of ground on the field. Fingers crossed.
The team is Schauffele, Spieth, Answer, Woodland, Willett, and Svensson. Ooh. Do you have the wild card? This is the ultimate question. if you've got the wild card, then I would make the change. If you don't have the wild card, stick for me. And I think you'd be the same, Nick.
Yeah, Schauffele, Spieth, Answer, Woodland, Willett, Svensson. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate, like you said, Jack. He's got no wild card.
Yeah, I personally would roll the transfer. Like I say use the tracker as well. Go onto the tracker. You'll see it there pinned at the bottom of the page. But go on there. Just the John Deere Classic field got announced today. I've put it all into the tracker already. It's not a good field. And the field the week after is not going to be good either at the Barbasol. So you really do need to save them transfers if you don't have a wild card. I'm in the same position. I use my wild card so early in this contest. If I believe now, looking back at it, if you've still got your wild card, you're going to be at a massive advantage to use it at that John Deere Classic over the rest of the field.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to roll it as well. I mean, Schauffele, Spieth, Answer, Woodland, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if you can make one cut between Willett and Svensson, I think you're quite happy there.
Yep. As long as you get five through the weekend, I think you'll be. And you've probably got better chance here as well because there's only 120 players in the field this week. So you've got a better chance. It's the top 65 and ties that will make the cut as well. So you've got a better chance of getting at least 5 through out of that anyway. Willett would be the one I don't like out of the two, out of him and Svensson.
Yeah, I would agree. We'll move on then, Jack, to the main event, which is, of course, the Memorial. Before we do, as a matter of fact, as we will be talking about it this evening, because it is what we use when we build our models, just remind the listeners of the fantastic offer that we've got with Fantasy National.
Yeah, just head on over to fantasynational.com/FanTeam and you will get 20% off their packages with that link. You can sign up weekly, monthly, yearly. As Nick says, we use all the stats from that. That's where we build our models every week. This is what we talk about every week with our models. This is where we do that. So if you want to go head on over there, get 20% off fantasynational.com/FanTeam.
Yeah. I noticed, I don't know if this is something new that's been added this week as well, Jack, but when I was looking at the course breakdown, we've actually, it's included the 2021 scorecard on there, and I don't recall seeing that for any of the other events this year, but that was good to see, a nice little improvement on there. So yeah, have a look at the course breakdown. It caught me by surprise. So we are headed over to, and I feel like I'm going to butcher this, but Muirfield Village. It sounds like it should be in Scotland.
Yes, so I will give you the history there. It's Murrayfield Village Golf Club in Dublin, Ohio, in the States. It's actually named after Murrayfield Golf Club, which is in Scotland, and it has hosted multiple Open Championships. The reason that this golf course has the same name as that golf course is Jack Nicklaus designed this golf course, and the first place that he won the Open Championship was at Murrayfield in Scotland. So that's why he gave it this name. It's exactly that reason there, Nick. It's a par 72. The length is 7,543 yards long. We've got bent grass greens here. They're quite small in size. So I think the approach is going to be back in our models again. We do have wide fairways shock horror. We do have wide fairways this week, Nick, but if you do go wayward here, you're going to find yourself in very thick rough. And when I say thick rough, I mean links golf rough, like what you get at St Andrews and places like that. It's not going to be kind. So the golfers go wayward this week. They're going to find themselves in a lot of trouble. There's water in play on 11 of the holes here. It was actually redesigned in 2020. That was just to lengthen it, to get it up to today's sort of standard, really. So they lengthened it by 100 yards. They replaced all the greens here, put like a sub-air system in underneath to dry them out, like what we see at Augusta. All the top golf courses in the world have that. They've also included like new runoff areas, like mounds on the greens. These greens are tough. The comp courses, funny enough, the first one that I looked at was Augusta for this. It's very similar to Augusta with the greens and the runoffs, the wide fairways. It will suit drawers of the ball again this week a little bit. Valhalla's another comp course for this place. And another little stat that I found, and I've included this within my model this week, is these bunkers around the green side here are the number one most difficult bunkers on the PGA Tour to get out of, Nick.
I think just with the course comp being Augusta, I'm almost certain one of these holes is practically a mirror image of that famous par 3 at Augusta as well. I think it might be the 12th. Obviously, Jack Nicklaus has had a massive hand in designing this course, so it doesn't come as a surprise that he has thrown in similar kind of features to what you tend to see at Augusta. Difficult greens.
Yeah, it's a weird place. He's set it up like Augusta to a certain extent, but there's elements of open championships like with the rough and the really hard bunkers to get out of. So there's elements of open championships as well within this golf course. It's a really weird place. I obviously we haven't really gotten to stats yet, but course history around this place is quite important. People that have played well here before, a bit like Augusta, tend to do well again. Patrick Cantlay, prime example, won it twice in the last 3 years. Adam Scott has played this place well. Colin Morikawa, Kevin Streelman, Ricky Fowler, Patrick Reed, Xander Schauffele, Matt Kuchar, John Rahm, Jason Day. These are all guys that have played this golf course well in the past. So again, like Augusta, there is a bit of, if you have a bit of knowledge to get around this place, it will serve you well this week.
Yeah. Key stats then, Jack, what are we looking at this week?
Well, I've got a big model this week again. I did read it off to you. So strokes gained off the tee I'm looking at this week. Good drive percentages. Strokes gained on approach, shock horror. That is my most weighted within my model. Greens in regulation gained. Proximity 175 to 200 yards. Strokes gained around the green. Sand saves, I mentioned about them bunkers being really hard. Strokes gained putting. Strokes gained on par 5s. Again, like Augusta, this place, if you're going to score, you score on the par 5s. The par 4s and the par 3s are really notoriously hard. The scoring has to be done on par 5s around this place. Strokes gained total, I've got a little bit weighted in. The ever important putting to 0 to 5 foot range, the putting from 5 to 10 foot range within my model. And last but not least, proximity from 200 plus yards, because a lot of the par 3s are long.
Yeah. One of the things we were discussing as well, Jack, before we hopped on was about normally when we talk about who ranks where in our model, normally we're looking at the last 24 rounds. But we've changed it up a little bit this week and we're looking at 50, which for anyone that's listened to us this year, we tend to do this on a lot of our, like when we've covered the majors, obviously we've only had 2 so far, but we've done this on both of the majors. We've switched the rounds to 50 rather than 24, giving us a lot more golf to actually look at and attack. Because like we've said in the past, you tend to find that some golfers just get up for the bigger events and the majors, and over a period of time, if you're looking at 50 rounds versus 24 rounds, you'll obviously see a lot more consistency in golf as well. What's the reasons that you're looking at those 50 rounds this week as well?
It's similar to you, mate. This is a tough golf course. This is one of the toughest golf courses you will see outside of the majors this week. So I just want guys that are consistent over a long stretch rather than the shorter period. Like I say, the course history as well, we kind of need to factor that in a little bit more this week. Again, I think my build this week, my model is very similar to what I've done at the Masters. It's a very similar build. So I'm trusting that sort of process again this week on a similar golf course.
Yeah. I've got similar kind of things to you in mind, Jack. So not as detailed as yours, but I've got strokes gained approach is my heaviest weighted stat. And then my next one, I've gone with good drives as well as my next priority, because I do think it is going to be important that people are accurate off the tee this week. Find those fairways. And then I've got sort of equal weighting on things like strokes gained around the green, strokes gained on par 5, sand saves, and the par 4, 450 to 500 yards scoring. And then I've also thrown in as well the putting 0 to 5 feet and 5 to 10 feet, which again we covered off on a previous show a couple of weeks back, why we've started including things like that. And if you haven't already, go and listen to that Pat Mayo podcast about predicting putting. It is fantastic. It will open your eyes. It certainly opened my eyes to it. I probably don't give it massive weighting still. I throw it in the model, but I don't give it massive weighting because there is still variance with putting week to week.
Yep.
But I've started including it in there because it's something I've overlooked previously, but something I'm willing to try to see what kind of results come out of it. How have you found that so far, Jack, by the way, with your... So obviously you had... last week I didn't really have a run at it because I was away, didn't get a chance to even build a model in all fairness. But how have you found it over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, no, it's certainly... I mean, at the PGA, it really worked for me. It didn't really work last week, but that is also due just in part because of the way I play DFS. You know, I play DFS anyway. I said I was on the I was on the podcast last night. I'm a very aggressive DFS player. Like I will go 80% in on one player across multiple lineups. That's what I do. I'm all or nothing. I want to win big. But I'm prepared to lose that as well. Like I know it's a very dangerous game that I play. It worked at the PGA. It didn't work last week. I still think my process was right, the way I went about things. The model, I believe my model was correct because I still had very good players within the model. Harold Varner, prime example, was very good until he had the blow up on the back nine. I had all the guys at the top. I had a heavy dose of Abraham Answer who missed a cut. Like these things happen. He missed a cut on the number as well. Like he literally missed a putt in the last hole, like to make it. So it's these things happen, but just trust yourself for that. Just back to Pat Mayo there. I listened to another one of his podcasts the other day and about golf strategy in general, like about if you're playing with one single lineup or you're playing with multiple lineups. I tweeted it out last night. I urge people to go and listen to it. It opened my eyes, Nick. Like, I've been playing DFS for years, same as you. But it opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I would urge, I had to listen to it twice. Like that's kind of nerd that I am. Like I would urge people to go and listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've not listened to that one yet. I missed that. I would have had that on in the years before when I was walking the dog, but I've missed that one. But I'll definitely go back and listen to that. I think we'll crack on, Jack, and start building some lineups then. One feature that I've just noticed as I was having a little look through the field is this little star at the top. Have I just completely missed this, that this is new? I didn't realise, but now you can click on golfers. There's a little star next to the name.
Yeah, you
can add them to your favourite list.
Yeah. You can basically, so you can technically do it. You can do it on the Fantasy National, can't you? You can highlight your favourite golfers that you want within your player pool this week. So you can technically do the same thing with this. Yeah, it's a nice, cool feature.
Yeah, I'd never seen it before, but then I looked and I was like, "What's this star here at the top?" But
important to note just before we do build a team, satellites are open this week as well in the build up for the US Open, the next major, which is in 2 weeks' time now. So the satellites are running side by side with this. So come and get involved. Good fun.
The satellites as well. They run. Is there like a full contest satellite and then dailies, Jack, or are we just doing dailies?
Yeah, it's correct. They run side by side with all of the contests. So you've got the 4-day contest, the main event tournament, and then you've got the round 2, round 3, and round 4 contests. So they run side by side with all of them.
Yeah, it's good, especially if you do play the dailies. They're worth entering because you tend to find, I think, that the fields are a little bit smaller in the satellites as well. But you normally do get a good guaranteed number of tickets that are available. I've won tickets before. I've won some for the PGA playing the satellites. So it's
a great chance as well to win tickets, like you say. They're €20 tickets as well. So if you win 3 or 4, that's a right touch, isn't it? That's going to set you off nicely for that week as well. So good fun. Come and get involved.
Absolutely. So this week then, top of the board, we've got John Rahm, who was he 6 shots clear in this last year before he was made to withdraw?
Yes, he was. He was 6 shots clear after 54 holes, and then he got COVID. So
got COVID, and suddenly wasn't allowed to play golf in the open air anymore.
Forced to withdraw. I mean, he would have won it, and he would have won. He would have then been back-to-back champions because he won it in 2020 2020, I believe. Yeah, he won it in 2020. So he's number 3 in my model this week, and I actually like him quite a lot, John Ram, this week. I know he's very expensive for good reason. He's the number 2 player in the world, but I think he's going to play with a bit of a chip on his shoulder this week and be a bit angered after what happened last year. So I do like John Ram quite a lot this week.
Yeah. So we've got John Ram topping the board at 22.4. I'll cover off the 20s and then we'll make our way to the second half of page 1. So we've got Rory McIlroy at 22, Patrick Cantlay at 21.6, Colin Morikawa at 20.8, Xander Schauffele, who is popping everywhere in my model this week, 20.6, and Cameron Smith at 20.2. Other than the obvious that we've just mentioned, Jack, out of the 20s, who is catching your eye the most this week?
I mean, it's Rory. He's number 1 within my model this week, and he's just green across the board. The only place that he's actually red, Nick, is in that 5 to 10 foot range on the putting. He's 108th over 50 rounds within this field, so that's not great. But if you just look everywhere, strokes gained off the tee, he's 4th. On the approach, he's 21st over the last 50 rounds. Greens in regulation, he's 12th. Strokes gained on par 5, he's 9th in the field over the last 50 rounds. Strokes gained total, he's number 2. We know, though, don't we, with Rory? I get bored of saying this every time we come on, but is he going to play 4 rounds? This is the big question. I love him. He's popping within my model. I'm definitely going to play him. I like most of the guys up here, to be honest. I can get put off a little bit by Cameron Smith just with the course history. It's not good. But as a comp course to Augusta, we saw what he done at the Masters. He nearly won the thing. So I like all the guys up here. I see why Schauffele's popping. I don't think I'm going to get there with him. He's got very good course history around here, Xander Schauffele. And I don't think I'm going to get to Patrick Cantlay either. I know he's won this twice in the last 3 years, but he was awful at the PGA Championship and missed that by a mile, that cut. And that he looked bad as well, missing the cut as well there. And that's coming off a second at the RBC Heritage. So it's just weird. I think he's in a bit of a weird form at the minute, Cantlay. He's a bit inconsistent, and you don't like that for any of these top guys. But I probably will have a share or two of Schauffele, but I'm going to find it hard getting there. Majorly overweighted on him. I think the guys that I'm going to be overweighted on this week would be Rory and Rahm.
Yeah, Rory's. I'm with you on Rahm, despite the price. I'm with you. I think he will play with a bit of a chip on his shoulder this week, a little bit of vengeance kind of thing. Especially because he's not been fantastic this season. Anyway, he went into the season as world number 1, and obviously Scottie Scheffler's stolen that from him for the time being. But McIlroy's a little bit lower in mine, but I think that is simply because I've just filtered the greens to bent grass rather than across the board. So he's a little bit lower on his approach, but actually his putting on 5 to 10 feet improves quite significantly. So he's ranked 10th then when you do that. But actually in my model overall, the approach is what's dragging him down, and the shorter puts are dragging him down a little bit as well. So he's right down at 39th in my model. That doesn't mean I'll be ignoring him this week, because at the end of the day, it's Rory McIlroy. But Xander Schauffele is like I said, he's popping in mind this week. His worst stat is around the greens and his sand saves, but he's still ranked around the 40s there on that. He's 3rd in approach when it's specifically bent grass greens as well. Fantastic putting. This is one of his best putting surfaces, Xander Schauffele, on bent grass. He's really good. And pretty good form that he's carrying into it as well. He played really good golf at the PGA Championship. I think the first day or two, he was sort of right up there. He'd put himself up there anyway in the scoring. But just sort of teetered off a little bit. But his strokes gained tee to green over his past 3 competitions have been fantastic. Obviously, we had that miscut at the Masters. Prior to that at Valspar, we had 8 strokes gained tee to green. We had 9.8 at AT&T Byron Nelson, which is just that is fantastic strokes gained tee to green, really. And then 7.9 at the PGA Championship. So yeah, I'm all over. I really liked Xander this week. I liked him at the PGA. I played him quite a bit at the PGA. I think one of my best lineups from the PGA was actually with him as captain. So I like him again this week. Like you said, course history as well is something that is standing out for me.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think out of these top guys, Morikawa will probably be the lowest owned out of the top ones. But I do actually quite like him. I mean, all of the other guys are top 10 within my model. Morikawa's not. He's actually 33rd in my model this week. But he's 6th in strokes gained on the approach over the last 50 rounds. And he was 2nd here last year, so he's got good course history. The only thing with him at the minute is just around the greens, he's not been great. He's not really popping within the model there. But I think out of the top guys there in that 20 million range, he will be the lowest owned. So I think you could actually get a leg up on the field this week by playing Morikawa. I do like him. I will certainly play Morikawa this week.
Do you think the course history will dent Cameron Smith's ownership as well?
No, I think people are going to go on recency bias there, and for good reason. He's a better player than what he has been in them last 6 years that he's been here. He's a much better player. He pops within the model on, like I say, he's clutch in that 5 to 10 foot range, in the 0 to 5 foot range. He's third within the field over the last 50 rounds on both. He's absolutely clutch within that range. He's the type of golf that you need there. I don't think he's going to go lower owned. I mean, he was 13th at the RBC, the PGA Championship. Sorry, he missed the cut, didn't he, at the RBC Heritage? But
he did.
Yeah, he was 13th for the PGA Championship. So I think he's kind of got over that Masters hangover, and I could certainly see him winning this week. I don't think I'm worried with the course history for Cameron Smith. Back to your question, anyway. Personally.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I'm the same, to be honest. It doesn't put me off because, like we mentioned earlier on, I think he's a much improved golfer this season. I think the golf he's playing has shown that, and I think if his approach is on it and he's within that sort of anything within 5 feet is automatic at the moment for him. Anything 5 to 10 feet, you're still back into to haul it. He's just been so hot with the putter this year. So yeah, it doesn't put me off either. Down to the sort of the second half of this page, and it's such a strong field this week. Jordan Spieth 19.8, Matsuyama 18.8, Zalatoris, Hovland, Fitzpatrick, Shane Lowry, and Sung Jae Im all in the 18s. That's a really good sort of group of players. Jordan Spieth doesn't really appeal to me, but everyone from sort of Matsuyama down to Shane Lowry most certainly does. Cameron Young 17.8, Max Homer 17.4, and then we've got Riley and Berger down there at 17.4 and 17.2. Down at this end of page one, Jack, who have you got your eye on?
Oh, well, I think Cameron Young's going to be very popular.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's not the player that I have my eye on. Actually, so I've got Shane Lowry. He's on my radar. He's number 2 within my model, playing some excellent golf at the minute. Like really good golf. Like he's made every cut this year on the PGA Tour that he's played. Sung Jae Im's actually 4th in my model. He's a terrific iron player, Sung Jae Im. So good on approach. We've seen him come 2nd before at Masters. Again, that's a comp course here. The only miscut that we've seen of him this year is at the Honda Classic. So he's been pretty good. The Charles Schwab Challenge, he was 15th there. He was 21st at the RBC Heritage. He come 8th at the Masters. I like Sanjay. Seems to have got over that COVID issue that he had. I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was him who had that or someone else, but whatever it is, he's got over it. And Max Homer's the other one I like. He's 15th within my model. Again, just green across the board. 5th in strokes gained on par 5s over the last 50 rounds. And just look at the cuts he's made. He's missed 1 cut all year, and that was right at the beginning of the year at the Farmers Insurance Open. I'm just going to go back and play Max Homer. He's on the heater at the minute.
Yeah. Though he doesn't appear specifically high in my model this week, I feel like I just can't ignore Will Zalatoris every week. I feel like off name I'm recency bias. Like you've just mentioned, Jack, recency bias, and this drives a lot of ownership sometimes. And I think you'll start seeing Zalatoris being highly owned every week because every week he's just finishing so strongly. I mean, he missed the cut in the Charles Schwab, but before then, you've got a second out of him at the PGA, a sixth out of him at the Masters, 26th at the Players, which was a bit of a, we've talked about that at length in previous shows anyway. It's not one that we tend to take into account. A second at the Farmers, sixth at the American Express. He is fantastic and consistent, and despite the fact he's not popping for me this week specifically, which is mainly because of his putting, and we've spoke about his horrible putting stroke before, I feel like I can't really ignore him just because of how consistent he is. And actually with his putting, the tournament that he gains strokes in his putting, the PGA Championship, he finishes second and unlucky not to actually win it. But yeah, what are you thinking on Zalatoris this week?
I mean, he's ninth within my model, and he's just going to be so highly owned. I know it, and for good reason. He has been playing very, very good golf this year. I think he's getting tired though, and I'm multi-enter, so I probably will have one or two lineups with him. But as I say, so I will have one or two lineups with him, but I am going to fade him, so to speak. I just think the ownership will be too crazy. I've said this to Mark a couple of times. We've seen the chalk hit, and there is good chalk, there's bad chalk, things like that. We've seen chalk hit most of the year with golf, but there's something with Zalatoris. I said this to Mark. I don't know if you listened to last week's show, Nick. I said it to Mark that I don't think he can win. He reminds me of Sergio Garcia. When he gets into that position to win, in majors especially, and I'm not knocking him because he's a very, very good golfer. Like, I wish I could play golf like him. Except the putting stroke. But
hey, I wish I could putt like him.
Yeah. I've just got something. I don't know if he can win a big event. This is a big event this week, and he does remind me of Sergio Garcia. I think he will win a big event eventually, but I think it's going to take some time. I don't like the miscut last week. I think he's tired, if I'm brutally honest. I'm going to fade him.
Yeah. I think it's a good leverage play as well, because I think when you're playing DFS, we always say that some chalk is good chalk to eat, but then you don't want to get too chalky with your lineup, and you don't want to necessarily have 6 players in your lineup where the ownership is over 15-20% for every player.
Yeah.
And I think you'll get that with Zalatoris because a lot of the recency bias and his name now in golf, a lot of people are just picking him based off his name and his consistency. Yep. So I think fading him is actually it's a good leverage play this week. He might come back to bite you, but at the end of the day, it's your process there on that, and you wouldn't change that even if you had a second chance to do it again.
I would rather play Matt Fitzpatrick this week. And Matt Fitzpatrick will probably be chalk as well. But I think he offers you a much safer floor. I think he'll make the cut here. And I'm going to go on record now that Matt Fitzpatrick wins a PGA Tour event before Will Zalatoris does. That's a big shout, but I'm going to go on record and say it. I think I like what I'm seeing from Matt Fitzpatrick. He was 5th at the PGA Championship. What I like from Matt Fitzpatrick is he plays well on really hard golf courses. The Masters, 14th there. He was 5th at the Valspar. The Valspar is a hard golf course to play. 2nd at the Wells Fargo. That's a hard golf course. 5th at the PGA Championship. That was a hard golf course this year. I know we've got the miscut of the RBC Heritage. But again, you have to also bear in mind he's just coming off an absolute clinic at the Masters where he's come 14th, and he's probably a bit tired. It's a long old walk around that place, and then he's just going to an event straight down the road at the RBC Heritage. These things can happen. I just like what I'm seeing more from him. And did you see that thing with I'll get some stats up quickly now with Fitzpatrick. He's actually he was first in my model earlier, but I had to change something because something was wrong. But he's actually 10th within my model this week. So he's there. He's 5th on the sand saves. Sand saves is crucial. I can't iterate that enough this week. It's going to be crucial. He's fourth on strokes gained on par fives over the last 50 rounds. Again, green across the board. The only place that he's losing strokes is in that proximity range from 200 plus yards out. I think he's a better golfer this year. And did you see the thing on him where he's recording every shot that he's playing at the minute? He's been doing it since he was 15.
Yes, I did. Yeah, which
this
is
a guy,
unbelievable, really.
This is a golfer that's dedicated to his game. Only person that I know that's a golfer, PGA Tour wise, that's ever done anything like that is Tiger Woods. Writing stuff down like that. It's the only golfer. Matt Fitzpatrick's been doing that since he's been on tour. I believe he wins before Will Zalatoris on tour. He could potentially win this week. He's the good chalk this week for me, Matt Fitzpatrick.
I think what you get with Fitzpatrick as well is this year, especially. I mean, he's always been fairly consistent with his putting. If you look back in his tournaments, he's gained strokes and he's putting in his last 5, his last 10, his last 20 tournaments. It's consistently a part of his game where he gains strokes. And if you've got someone like that gains strokes putting, and the other parts of the game slot into place, like their approach, the ball striking, the gaining strokes, tee to green, it cannot be ignored. One thing I would say as well with Matthew Fitzpatrick is it mentions there that he's missed 3 cuts on FanTeam. It's done in that way because there was one tournament that he didn't play, which was the Genesis. If I remember correctly, Jack, he had a bit of a funny stomach. So
he did.
He just pulled out. Yeah. And that's going down as one of his missed cuts. So he's actually only missed 2 cuts, one of which was at the Players, which was an absolutely bonkers event anyway. So like
he was on the wrong side of the draw there. Like you just discount that anyway. So anyone could have missed a cut. And like I say, the Heritage is an easy miscut as well because it's a bit more of a high scoring event. Like the cut was from memory, I think the cut was about. I'm pretty sure it's about 2 under or something like that. From memory, I can't 100%. Someone can correct me if they want to. I from memory, I think it's about 2 under the cut, and anyone can miss a cut when it's under par like that. We said that the other week, didn't we, at the Byron Nelson, where it was just a stupid cut mark anyway there. But when the cut is actually under par, is quite easy. It's easier to miss the cut. So I don't take too much into that. I mean, Zalatoris, like this is just my own personal point of view. I may be proved wrong this week, and Zalatoris might go and win. I'm not saying he's not a good golfer. I'm not saying he can't win. My own personal point of view from watching golf over the years, he reminds me of Sergio Garcia. I think it's going to take some time. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick wins before him.
Yeah. And if anyone's unsure on what Jack means by he reminds me of Sergio Garcia was basically the nearly man at every major, at all the big events. He was always there and thereabouts in the mix. You'd always see his name up there on the leaderboard, but he just couldn't quite get over the line until one day when he did, and he got that green jacket, which I've no doubt it will come for Zalatoris, but I agree with what you're saying, Jack. When you start losing tournaments in the way that he is, I think we've seen it with Schauffele a little bit as well. I think it starts becoming a bit of a mentality thing. You can almost get used to losing. Almost.
There's plenty like him. Lee Westwood's another one. Always up there in majors. He's not now, but he was always up there in majors. And I mean, the amount of times that he led the Masters after 2 or 3 rounds was unbelievable, and he would never win the event. I knew as well. Like watching it, it's like I know he's not going to win this. I've seen this story before, and that's kind of the vibes I'm getting off of Zalatoris in a minute. And I'm not saying he's a very good golfer. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to win on tour. Very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I quite like Victor Hovland this week as well. The only thing that puts me off with Victor Hovland is he's the weakest part of his game tends to be around the greens, and I don't know if it's just a little bit too risky this week here. I think if he has a good week and he's accurate on his approach, which he's a fantastic approach player, then he's a good play. But around the greens, he is notoriously a little bit iffy.
Number 1 on approach over the last 50 rounds within my model. Again, it's around the green. I'm probably not going to go back there this week. I got burned last week by Hovland a little bit. I know he made the cut, but he just didn't play very well at all.
Yeah. We'll move on to page 2 then, Jack. So we've got Joaquin Neiman, Corey Connors, Abraham Answer, Keegan Bradley, Patrick Reed, Mito Pereira, and Seamus Power. In fact, we'll go down to Billy Horschel because he rounds out the 16 millions there as well. Top half of page 2, Jack, talk to me.
Where do I start? I mean, I don't really like the top half here. I'm trying to talk myself into Patrick Reed at the minute. The guy is just making cuts. Like, I know he missed it at the Wells Fargo, but he was 7th last week at the Charles Schwab, 34th at the PGA. And he had 3 cuts before that he made, the Players, the Masters, and the Mexico. I know he missed a cut at the Wells Fargo. Someone that won't pop within the model. I mean, if I look now, let me just find him within this model here that I've built. He is ranked. Sorry, my computer's a bit slow today. He is ranked 87th within my model this week. So yeah, not someone that's popping. I might have a couple of shares saying that. And so I'm going to find.
He's actually 9th in mine, just to throw that out there. He is 9th in mine.
He's going to be very lowly owned as well. Like, there's going to be guys at this top that people see, like Connors and Answer and Bradley, Pereira, all these guys. So Reed is the odd man out of this top lot in the 16 million. I mean, for me, within that 16 million range, Nick, I don't know for you as well, he's going to be the lowest owned.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Neiman's popping within the model a little bit. He's 18th within my model. He's green across the board. Nothing's really majorly sort of standing out around the green. He's 11th over the last 50 rounds, but it's all green. Like, it's not like high greens. Like, the highest you go to is like 46th. Like, on greens in regulation, he's 46th. Over the field over the last 50 rounds, sorry. So that's the sort of highest you go, but he's just green, like solidly green across the board. So I should certainly get to Neiman. Connors is another one. He's very good on approach. Greens in regulation, he's 7th. Good drives, he's 3rd in this field. He's actually 20th overall within my model. So yeah, I don't mind Connors. Did miss the cut of the PGA Championship, unfortunately. I think this golf course will suit him a little bit better than what that did there. He comes 6th at the Masters, so if you're going to go on a comp course, then he was 6th there, Corey Connors. So you'd like to see that. Other than that, Nick, I think Pereira. I'm very surprised how well he sort of bounced back last week. Comes 7th, but I do think he's going to start getting tired.
I was just going to say exactly the same. That Mito Pereira, when you're looking at the stats, he's another one, fantastic across the board. Putting can sometimes be a little bit up and down, and that's probably the only metric that's feeding into this that's dragging him down a little bit. But he's actually 7th in my model as well. His approach play is fantastic, and I'm with you, Jack. I was impressed with how he dusted himself off. I thought that letting the PGA slip, literally grasping victory, and it was taken from him within like the space of 2 shots, and I thought that would have really knocked him, but he comes back and throws in a 7th at the Charles Schwab. So fair play to Mito Pereira there. And one thing I will say as well with him is his greens in regulation percentage, 72.6%, is fantastically high. Most of the golfers we've mentioned so far are below 68%. So that is really good approach play by Mito Pereira every week. And just going back to Patrick Reed as well, he's pretty good at putting across the board, Patrick Reed, but he comfortably his best surface is bent grass. So this week it feeds into his hands as well. So
I do like him. I will certainly play him. He will be lower owned out of that top lot there. So I can certainly get there with him this week. I've seen him make a few cuts now. I can certainly get back to him, definitely.
Yeah, there's certain like anomalies where when they pop up so high in your model, you think, why is this player appeared? Luke List is a prime example of that. For weeks he was like 2nd or 3rd or 4th in our model, sometimes even 1st. But I think because we're filtering it down now as well with some of the putting and getting quite specific with distances there, and for someone like Patrick Reed to pop up 9th, I can't really ignore that in my model. So yeah, now that you've pointed that out, Jack, as well, I think that's reaffirmed the fact that I'm going to have to have some exposure to him this week.
I've just driven up his ownership this week. That's what
Yeah.
I've done.
Influencer.
Speaking of ownership, if we move down, there's someone I'm gonna play.
Yeah, well, if it's who I'm thinking of, I mean, you're probably not going to see him again at this kind of price, but lower half of page 2, we've got Matt Kuchar, Bryson DeChambeau, we've got Adam Scott, Chris Kirk, Si Woo Kim, Jason Day, Matt Leishman, Alexander Noren, and Aaron Wise. I can't say the woo too loud because the baby's asleep next door, but if it's who I'm thinking of, Jack, you don't normally see him at 15.6 million.
You don't, mate. Just before we do get to him, Siwoo Kim, Mark Leishman, going to have a lot of them this week. Good course history here. Not popping within my model. Sometimes I mentioned this last week, Mark. Sometimes you just have to ignore what you're seeing within the model. Sounds stupid to say that because you'd be like, oh, it's all the stats. Like sometimes you just, like I say, certain golf courses,
you can override. History,
yeah, you can override it. Both of them two, Leishman and Siwoo, very good course history here. Bryson is the guy that I'm going to play this week at this price. I'm not going all in. I'm not that mad. He is coming off that injury. I know. It's a risky play. And the problem is, Nick, if he withdraws before the tournament and I get safety net, it's going to go down to the player that I don't like to play in DFS, which is Mr. Adam
Safe
Scott
himself.
Yeah. So that'll be an issue for me, but I'm going to get to Bryson DeChambeau. Strokes gained off the tee over the last 50 rounds, 3rd in the field. Strokes gained par 5, number 1. That's where you're going to make your scoring this week. Strokes gained on the proximity from 200 plus yards, number 1 within the field. He's won here before. Good course history around this place. I'm going to play him. He's going to be so lowly owned. There's 2 guys on this page that I'm playing over a lot of the other guys, and they're going to be low owned. And Bryson's another one. You won't get him at this price again if he performs well. Look, he's missed every cut he's played this year. He's obviously been dealing with an injury, but if you're playing one lineup, me and Mark said this last week. If you're playing one lineup, don't play Bryson DeChambeau. Not a good idea. If you're playing multiple lineups like we do, have a share or 2 of him, because if he booms, he could boom and totally dismantle this golf course and win. So, and at that price, you're just going to be laughing. I'm going to play him in a couple of lineups for sure.
Yeah, and he's been posting some videos and stuff like that on his Instagram and using every club in the bag. He seems like he's pretty much back to where he wants to be. We had a brief chat, I think, prior to coming on live, Jack, about the FedEx Cup, and that the reason you're seeing a lot of strong fields at this time of year is that golfers are trying to rack up them FedEx Cup points. Bryson DeChambeau is ranked 219th in the FedEx Cup rankings.
Yeah.
219th.
He's going to play a lot of golf down this stretch.
Yeah, he's 2 places behind Phil Mickelson, who I don't recall Phil Mickelson swinging a club since we were playing in Hawaii right back in January. Absolutely crazy bonkers that he is so low, but I'm with you. I think this is the kind of course that sets up absolutely perfectly for Bryson DeChambeau, especially the par 5s. I think he can really attack those because of his swing speed and his power as well. You mentioned about the thick rough. If you're getting stuck in stuff like that, you need to have fast swing speed, or you raw power, or you're not getting the ball out of there, not with any kind of success anyway. So I don't hate that. I like Bryson DeChambeau this week as well. I'm glad that you do.
Got a question, well, not question, but Kuchar, highest form figures, 6 made cuts in a row. Yeah, I just looked back at that, actually. Very impressive by Kuchar, especially at his age. The courses that he's doing that on are not long golf courses. This is a long golf course this week. So I would worry with Kuchar this week. Having said that, we multi-enter, so I will have a lineup or 2 with Matt Kuchar in. Not a bad play. I'm not saying he's a bad play. I'm giving you a scenario where you could miss the cut. if you look back at the previous events, they're all shorter golf courses to what we've got this week. So there is a scenario where he could miss the cut this week.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, there isn't a lot that I like at the bottom of this page. Bryson DeChambeau was the shining star for me as well, so I'm glad you're on board that train as well, Jack. Move on then to page 3,
Captain
and then
Bryson.
I think, yeah, Captain Bryson. Why not? We'll cover off page 3, Jack, quickly, and then obviously any other standouts. Then we'll start building some lineups here. So we've got Tringale, Woodland, Tom Hoagie, Lee, Mitchell, Straka, Ricky Fowler, CT Pan, Onabon Lahiri at 14.6 as well. Harris English pops up really high in my model this week. Well, I'm not either, and we've not seen him play for months, have we? But he pops up high in my model. But I think that is simply because he's not played for so long. It's based on historical rounds from when he has played. So yeah, I'm the same as well. But yeah, we'll stop there at Harris English, and then I'll come to the second half. Top half of page 3.
I mean, it's not really. I don't really like a lot of the topic. I'll probably have a couple of shares of Straka, CT Pan. Maybe I'll probably have a couple of shares.
CT Pans.
He made the cut last week. Obviously, he's got over whatever injury he had the week before at the Byron Nelson. Well, not the week, 2 weeks before, wasn't it? The Byron Nelson when he withdrew.
Yeah.
Straka made the cut as well. Don't mind that. Lahiri's been in good form lately. These are guys not really popping within my model. Lahiri obviously missed the cut of the PGA Championship, but he was 6th at the Wells Fargo before that, 15th in Mexico. Made the cut, 66th at the Heritage, 13th at the Valero, 2nd at the Players. Certainly will have a couple of shares of him. I'm not playing Harris English. He keeps withdrawing from tournaments. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to Thursday and he withdraws again. I think that's a full fade. He will be very low owned, but just I don't care. I can't get there with him. I don't really like the top of this page at all, to be honest, Nick. There's not a great deal of standouts on it for me. I don't. If you've got different views, then go ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
No, I don't really. To be fair, either. I think Gary Woodland can be a little bit erratic off the tee sometimes, but you know what you're getting from him. I was the same with CT Pan. It's him, and to be honest, nothing much else at the top of this page. Harris English is like crazily high in my model. He's 5th, but when you look back, because we're looking at 50 rounds historically, it is going to be including things like the Tour Championship from last year, like the Travelers, like the US Open tournaments where he was finishing top 10s in the, maybe even throwing in the Byron Nelson last year as well. I think he finished 13th there as well. So
do not play him. It's a very bad idea to play him.
I'm definitely not. That's one of those where that is something that I'm overriding that in my model. He's up there because of the rounds of golf that he's obviously not played a lot this season. He's withdrawn a lot, like you said. So I won't be playing him this week. Second half of page 2 is a little bit kinder, I would say. I think like
my favourite players down the bottom there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Lanto Griffin I like on this page as well, Jack, but I think you're on about someone completely different. So yeah, go
on. Just before we do go on, what about Brian Harman last week? About 38% ownership within the main event, and he missed the cut.
Burn.
yeah, absolute burn that was. Could be a good reason to go back to him though, because he's missed the cut. People are going to have it in their mind, and someone actually put on one of the chats that we're in about him. Obviously, really underperforming, not playing well. If you actually go back and look at his second round, he shot 4 under par. He tried to make the cut. He really did try and give it a good fight back. Unfortunately, he'd done all the damage in the first round. Yeah. I'm inclined to go back to Brian Harman again, just because of he'll be lower owned. People will be burned by him, and I was actually encouraged by what I saw with him trying to make the cut. I'm just going to play Denny McCarthy again, though. This guy is on you want to talk about cuts made? This guy has made 9 cuts on the trot, Nick. He is a cut-making machine. And if you want to talk about clutch putting, this guy's it. He's 5th within the model, within them ranges that me and Nick talk about all the time. He's not really popping within the model overall. He's 65th over the last 50 rounds. But over the last 50 rounds, Nick, number 1 in putting, strokes gained putting.
It's
Absolute
crazy.
clutch. Yeah, absolute clutch putter. Just play him. This guy will make cut after cut. Play him.
Yeah, he has lost strokes in putting on only one tournament this year, and it was the very first tournament of the year, the Sony Open. He's fantastic. Like literally his last 3 events, his strokes game putting is practically 5, just above 5, and 6.5. Like you said, Jack, when you look across the board, everything else you'd expect to see, like strokes gained on approach, is one thing that we look at every week. Off the tee, he doesn't particularly pop in things like that. But his putting cannot be ignored. What he might lose strokes elsewhere on the course, he gains strokes on the field putting head over tail. You have to, can't ignore that. Just
imagine if he gets right with the irons or something one week, he's gonna be in contention.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win. He gets right with his irons. He's just give him the bag and on your way.
Sundar, you are a madman, Jack. Yeah, I am a bit mad. It's just the way I approach DFS. I like to iron out little things. Like I say with Harman, he did play really well in the round 2, so I'm inclined to go back with him.
Just the trend with Harman as well, if you look at his missed cuts this season especially. So this season he missed cut at Honda, followed it up with a 63rd at the Players, which poor event. 5th at Valspar. He then misses the cut at the Masters, but then follows it up with a 35th, a 9th, and a 34 at the PGA Championship. Misses the cut at the Charles Schwab. So if nothing more, if history tells us anything about Brian Harman, you should get a made cut from him this week, and potentially somewhere around the 30s, maybe. You might even get a top 20 finish out of him. So he's worth the play at the price. I agree with you, Jack. He's worth going back there because I think recency bias probably drive his ownership down a little bit as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Do you want to get into building a team quickly, or just have because we've gone quite long here, haven't we, as well? But
we have, yeah.
I could talk golf all night. I really could.
Yeah, to be fair, I think, I mean, beyond that, I think because of the pricing that you're getting on this page, I don't think there's necessarily a need to go further down than that. But we'll just summarise. Is there anyone lower that you did have your eye on, Jack, specifically?
Yeah, Pat Perez.
He was on mine as well.
Yeah, he came 12th last week. Played really well. Best putting surface for him. Again, when I think I said this with Mark last week, when you get down to this stage here on these pages, these guys are not going to pop within your model at all. Like, I'm just trying to find him now within mine. Pat Perez is 43rd within my model. So he's not bad. Strokes gained around the green, he's 6th. That could be very helpful around this place this week. He's green in most areas. The only place he's showing red is off the tee. I don't think that's a major concern around here. They do have wide fairways. So as long as he's not going too mad off the tee and finding that thick rough, I think he should be okay this week, Pat Perez. He's certainly someone I like down there.
Yeah, Pat Perez was one that I had down there. And then, to be honest, the golfers that were either side of him as well, Eric Van Rooyen, who, again, can be a bit erratic with his cut making, but when he makes the cut, he is normally a pretty good performer. Cesco Molinari was another one that I had my eye on down there as well. Not necessarily going to be throwing him in every lineup, but I think we're seeing sprinklings of the old Molinari in there every now and then. So he had a run of missed cuts, but either side of that, he had some decent performances. So I think that's as far as I would go this week.
Let's build a team, Nick.
Let's do it. So I think we're going to have to go stars and scrubs first of all. So I think we both like John Rahm.
Can we just try and do a Rahm and McIlroy lineup, see what happens?
I think we're going to have to go down to Perez. So let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go down to Perez.
Let's throw Perez in.
13. That leaves us with 42.2 million. You didn't mind Molinari, did you?
Molinari was one of mine, and I think we've got enough there where if you did want to go back up to
get Denny
McCarthy, maybe, yeah. Gives us 14.6. Do we throw Brian Harman in?
Yeah. Nah, CT Pam. It's got to be CT Pam within this lineup, hasn't it? We like CT Pound,
Yeah.
didn't we? So
Yeah.
I quite like that lineup.
That's not bad at all.
I'm pretty sure Mark would hate that lineup, but yeah, I quite
I think
like it.
as far as Stars and Scrubs go, though, that is a Stars and Scrubs lineup. So yeah, I quite
definitely.
like that as well. We'll go with a bit more of a balanced build then. I think we both like Fitzpatrick, so I'm just going to throw him in there straight away.
Yep.
Max Homer, you liked as well, Jack?
Yeah, I really like Max Homer. He's on a bit of a heater at the minute, so I don't mind that play.
We both like Shane Lowry as well, so I'm going to throw Lowry in and see where we're at here. So we've got 46 between 3. So I think if we drop down to page 2, Leishman was someone you liked this week, as was Siwoo.
Yes, put them 2 in, and then it just leaves us there, doesn't it? On that, I don't mind Wise down there at that price. He's not too bad. He's made a lot of cuts since the Valspar. He comes 6th in Mexico, didn't he? So he was 23rd at the PGA Championship last time. He's had a week off as well. I don't mind Aaron Wise down there. Didn't really talk about him.
We could potentially come down to McCarthy as an underdog.
Yeah.
And then it gives us 31.8. So we could always throw in Leishman or Kim, and it allows us to go up to the top end of this page. Patrick Reed is there. 16.2.
I think I'd be inclined to put Mito within this lineup if we were going to do it, because I think it's a bit safer.
And would you go Leishman or Siwoo Kim?
I would go Leishman. I think this is kind of like a safe build, if there is such thing in golf.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I mean, you could captain a number of them within that. Fitzpatrick, Lowry, Homer. I'd certainly enter that a few times, that lineup.
Yeah. I think we'll throw in one more, Jack.
Can we kind of try and do a low-owned team here? So can we put DeChambeau and...
Oh, yeah. We can't
DeChambeau, Reed and Harmon in it and see what happens there?
DeChambeau, Reed and Harmon. I like where this is going.
This is going to be like low-owned now. So now what we're left with there, 53.8 million.
Pure dollar is what we're left with.
So now we could get up to... How about... What happens if we put in Schauffele? And I was going to say try and get Cam Smith in, but then we're going to have to go really low.
Sung Jae in, maybe?
Yeah, put Sung Jae in. And then that leaves us with 15.2 million. Oh, Leishman.
We're back down at Leishman.
Yeah, because I know we was trying to build a low-owned team there, but you don't want to go 6 players on like low-owned. So it's not really a good way to build a team. But we've kind of give it a bit of balance there with Schauffele, Im, and Leishman. And then we've got the 3 lower owned guys potentially lower owned guys. So yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, I'd captain Schauffele. I did that a few times. I think I'd actually enter that and captain DeChambeau in one line.
I'd be inclined to do the same. I'd potentially even I'd throw it in 3 times and stick the armband on him as well, because I think Sung Jae Im has burned a few people this season. I think he'll go lower owned this week as well, because I think some of the names that are around him, likes of Lowry, Fitzpatrick, Zalatoris, Cameron Young, I think they'll be the higher owned players this week. So yeah, I quite like that as well. I feel like that's high ceiling, low floor, that lineup.
Oh, definitely. But I don't mind it. I'm definitely going to be entering those lineups this week.
Yeah, good stuff. We have run way over here, Jack, but any parting comments?
No, thanks for joining us. Head over to fantasynational.com/FanTeam. Get 20% off their incredible packages. All the stats we've used tonight have come from there. But yeah, I've had a great week. I can't wait for the golf to start on Thursday. It's bank holiday here, Thursday, Friday. So yeah, I get to sit in front of the telly for 2 days watching golf.
Yeah,
nothing better.
What more could you want? Mark, I hope you enjoyed Peppa Pig World. I hope it was worth it. You've missed an absolute stormer tonight. Well, hopefully you'll be back again next week. I think this week, Jack, it's another second shot course. So good drives for sure, and get those irons back out again for the dough. And we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.